Hey, everybody, I'm Mary Gardner, and welcome to Masters of Leadership. This is a podcast that is dedicated to leaders who are doing phenomenal things around the country and around the world. And today I'm really excited to have a very special guest with me, Rebecca Sposita. And Rebecca is the first female president at the Sam Bernstein Legal or Law Firm. And she's an attorney. This is in Detroit, Michigan. And Rebecca has a really interesting background. And she is the chief operating officer, former legal officer. She has a strong background in personal injury and medical malpractice and sexual assault litigation. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here today. It's good to see you.
You too, Mary. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I wanted to start a little bit. You are, again, as I mentioned, the first female league or lawyer president there at the Sam Bernstein Law Firm. And I wanted to hear a little bit about what you do. I know you've been involved with some very high profile cases, which we'll get to, but tell me a little bit about your firm and what you do there.
Yes. So we're a personal injury law firm in Detroit, Michigan, as you said, and we specialize in auto accidents and dog bites, slip and fall, all of those things. And my personal experience has been in medical malpractice and sexual assault litigation. I manage all the operations of the firm. We have about 140 or almost 150 employees at the firm.
Wow.
And we've been around for over 50 years. It's a family-owned law firm, starting with Sam Bernstein started the firm in, I believe, 1971. And then his son and daughter, Mark and Beth Bernstein, took over the firm. And a couple years ago, I was made president. So it's been a great opportunity here. I've been here for about 15 years, and it's a really great place to call home.
That's amazing. That's great. You are the first female president of the law firm. That's quite an accomplishment. From what I understand, you're the biggest law firm in Detroit. And is that correct?
Well, I think that one of our competitors would probably take issue with that, since they advertise that they are all over the place. We certainly have the most years of experience of our lawyers here, many having been here for decades and decades. So we are a very, very well-established law firm in the area. We are a large personal injury law firm. I don't know exact sizes, though.
Okay, great. Well, you, as a female lawyer, I know that you have probably gone through a lot of bumps along the way. And to get to where you are, you're at the top, the pinnacle of success. I know that we're going to be discussing a book that you have upcoming in a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey, how you started, how you knew you wanted to be a lawyer, how you got selected to be a lawyer at the Sam Bernstein Law Firm. Did you always know that you wanted to be a lawyer? Was that something ingrained in you, or was it something that developed over time?
You know, when I was young, I saw a movie once that was really interesting and intriguing to me, which in hindsight is kind of odd because it's a strange movie, but it's called The Jagged Edge. And there was this woman who was a prosecutor in the movie, and it was intriguing to me and fascinating. And so I always thought about it. I never really thought, hard about it when I was young, that I would actually end up doing it. It wasn't until I graduated and got married and actually had my first child that I ended up going to law school. So
Mm.
serendipitous, but no, it wasn't always planned.
What did you do before you went to law school? If you were considering other careers, or did you just, somebody said, you're so smart, you should be a lawyer?
No, definitely no, not that. I was, so what did I do before I went to law school? I was still working on my undergrad after I got married. And I got married when I was 24. We're still married today, 25 years.
Oh, congrats.
And I'm trying to remember. I think I was a realtor for a while I was finishing up my undergrad and doing some work at a recruiting firm and things like that. And once I graduated and did my undergrad work, I took a business course to start my MBA, and decided that I wanted to go to law school instead. And so that's how it happened. It was an unlikely time in my life because I had a 6-month-old when I started
Okay.
law school.
Wow.
So it was a team effort, and House Sposita getting me through law school with the little guy at home.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know how women do that. Go to school, have kids. Did you go to night school, or was it
I
during the,
did.
you
Yep, I
did?
stayed home with my son during the day, and then when my husband came home from work, he took our son over, and I went to school. So It
Wow.
was honestly a very strong partnership enabled that. That's the only way I could have done it, really.
That's a blessing. That's a
Yes.
best blessing that you have
Yes.
somebody that's such a support to you like that. So, as a lawyer, I know that it's mostly a male dominated field, or maybe it's changed. What are some of the challenges that you have faced, if any, as a female in the legal field?
A great question. I have a lot of examples of that. When I was, excuse me, when I was in law school, I did an internship at the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, and that is the city of Detroit is housed within Wayne County. And it's a very busy prosecutor's office, and it was a great opportunity for me. I got courtroom experience while I was still in law school, so that was fantastic. And one of the first times I was in front of a judge, he called me into his chambers to kind of give me a little bit of a pep talk and tell me about the field, and gave me advice about how I should dress for motion day. I should wear a pantsuit. For trial, I should wear a suit with a skirt. And, gave me advice like that. And it was just really interesting to me. And at the time, I was like, huh, okay. I actually ended up listening to him and doing what he said for a while, but it was just a really strange interaction that I had. And one of the first times I realized that people
Wow.
spoke to women in different ways than men. And that, he certainly wouldn't have pulled the guy in and talked to him about his attire. And so that was an interesting interaction to me. And when I graduated from law school, I started practicing in medical malpractice, which, there are women in all the different areas of law. But the people that are really experienced in the medical malpractice area, especially in the Detroit area, are by and large experienced older men. And so when I was right out of law school as a young woman, it was, I definitely got some experience toughening up in that world.
Back in the day, there weren't as many conversations about sexual harassment that there are now. The Me Too generation hadn't really come about back then. So it was a challenge for those of us in business, and it was just accepted. And you had to kind of learn to play dodgeball a little bit. And I'm sure that you had to do that. What about as a lawyer that you were in medical malpractice? And again, that's a tough environment, I would think. Did you have to go before court juries and things like that and speak to them and to persuade them? And how was that? How did you learn how to do all that?
So I spent a lot of time in medical malpractice learning. That was my very first job out of law school. And I worked for an amazing, brilliant man that ironically, we just hired at the firm to come here. So I worked for him 20 years ago, and I was his associate for 3 years. And then I left that firm a long time ago, and just recently he joined our firm. So it's an amazing kind of full circle moment. But I don't even remember your question, Mary. I'm sorry.
Oh, just being
Yeah.
in front of a jury.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So, my first few years of practice, I didn't get in front of a jury, other than being there in trial with him when he was trying a case. I did a ton of depositions and I was in court all the time. But the trial work, I really got to mostly experience as a bystander alongside him. I got more experience in trials when I was not even really yet a lawyer at the prosecutor's office. And then thereafter, when I moved to the firm that I'm at right now. So,
Yeah, I guess if
I've
you're
not
watching
had,
somebody a lot, that would give you good experience to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. I'm guessing.
yes, yes. And he's brilliant. And honestly, most of the practitioners in that space, I found them particularly intelligent and interesting because not only do they understand the law that all of us lawyers do, but they also understand the medicine, which it's difficult to know all of that. So I learned a ton in that role. But the most important thing I learned in that role was working with the victims of medical malpractice and understanding what it is that they go through when they have to bring a complaint forward and when they have to relive the things that have happened to them. Oftentimes, I worked on birth trauma cases, and so often these mothers are trying to cope with just living every day with their children who have disabilities and need therapies, and, it's expensive. And so the stress involved with that, combined with the difficulty in bringing a case forward and having somebody kind of attack you and question every judgment call you made as a mother, all of those things, it was really interesting. My first time really getting to know clients and advocacy work and what they go through and how important it is for them to have people to help them.
Wow, I love that. That sounds like you're a very compassionate person, because I've been on both ends of the stick, going after people and then also being the person that is, in a car accident trying to go after insurance or things like that. And they always do throw people under the bus. So what would you advise a person who has, like you're talking about, these women who have children that are on the spectrum or disabled, and they're just fighting for every single day just to get the work, get them fed and clothed and everything. And now they're being attacked by a big lawyer. What did you tell these people that you were defending? How did you advise them, and how did you work with them? That's impressive.
Thank you. It's such an ongoing process, and it happens over the course of many years, because that's how long it takes for these cases to proceed, which also makes it difficult, right? So it's like the situation that never ends. And not only do they have that going on with their children at home, and this is not just the mothers, the fathers, all the family involved. It's that the legal process goes on for so long, and every step of the way, there's just these antagonistic conversations and depositions and, paperwork going back and forth. And so all you can really do is talk to them, tell them to tell the truth and explain to the best of their abilities, and just realize that this is part of the process. There's really nothing else that can be done while the organizations and institutions are still taking those approaches.
Yeah. And with medical, those program or those, problems that you're coming, you've got a doctor, or is it a hospital? Give me a typical case. You don't have to name one, but what's
Yeah, sure. I mean, any of the above, any and all, right? So if you are at a hospital and you have a surgery that goes wrong, right? There's a surgeon, there's an anesthesiologist, there's a hospital, there are nurses. So depending on what happened and what the circumstances were, it can be any or all of those people involved in the lawsuit.
So I also have interviewed doctors and things on the other side, and I know it's uncomfortable for them to go through that as well.
Yeah.
Did you find doctors that were really legitimately trying hard, or were they more about, I'm going to do something intentionally?
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, I've never come across a doctor that ever intended harm, not in my practice. I know, I mean, clearly there have been, and they're in the news. No, by and large, the doctors that you come across, they're working hard, and they're trying to take care of their patients, and, things happen sometimes. Never have I seen an intentional case. And there are so many doctors that are there, and they're part of this process. They don't want to be either. And so, yes, I've many times found myself saying, okay, these doctors they're doing their best, just like everybody else is, but sometimes things happen.
Absolutely. That's really a tough one. Now, moving over to some of the others, you did personal injury and also a sexual assault. What was the next thing that you got involved with? Was it all of the different topics together, or did you progress into a different area of expertise?
So after I moved from medical malpractice in my early years, I moved towards handling cases where people had disabilities and were applying for Social Security disability benefits. And working with that group of individuals is another instance where you have people that they're disabled, they're unable to work, and they've worked their whole lives to earn these benefits that they're entitled to if they become disabled, and they have to fight a system that doesn't give them what they've earned. And working with these people, same situation, where it's devastating for them to have to go through this process, and they're at some of the worst times in their life, that we are with them and helping them, and we just do the best that we can during those times to just help get them through and advocate for them so they can get the benefits they deserve.
Oh man, I really thank you for what you're doing for people. I had a brother who was disabled who actually went through the exact same thing that you're discussing. And he had a curvature of the spine and literally had been a great worker, sales, great job, and then just couldn't work anymore. And it was so sad to see that. And then he also felt like he couldn't do any side jobs or anything because the system would come down hard on him. And so do you think the system is rigged correctly towards, does it help people? Have you seen the system work? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the system does work for so many people. It's just, it's such a huge machine.
Mm.
And the process of getting these benefits is just too difficult, too cumbersome for individuals. And for individuals that it's it's evident that they need these benefits. So I don't know. I don't know that I would say that it's rigged. I think it's just so large that it's difficult to manage such a system in an efficient way, frankly.
I agree with you. It is hard. And you imagine the people are in pain. They can barely walk in some cases. That was my brother. He had a very difficult time walking or standing, and he certainly couldn't work. So having a lawyer by his side was really important. So that's great work. Good
Yes,
job,
and
girl. Good job, girl.
yeah, thank you. Yes, we represent, I don't think I mentioned this when I was talking in the beginning about the firm, but we do represent Social Security disability claimants here as well.
Okay, awesome. Now, I know that you are kind of well known for a large case that you had. You've done also, and you're an expert in the sexual assault arena. Was that the next progression in your career?
So there are multiple cases at the firm that I've handled, but one of the ones that I handled were some of the Larry Nassar sexual assault cases against Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics. So I worked with a handful of young women who were just amazing and kind of helping them through that awful ordeal.
That was crushing for the entire world to see and to experience because you assume that at the Olympic level, people are protected and they have the best people around them. And it was devastating for so many people to see a doctor who would take advantage of young women like that. What was your feeling in going into the case, knowing that these poor girls had been assaulted?
So importantly, and I don't know how widely known that it is, and it was not just the gymnasts. It wasn't just Olympic gymnasts. He was practicing at a facility and treating patients, all kinds of patients. So mostly athletes, but all different types of athletes. And so, going into it, I was a gymnast when I was a kid and had some difficult experiences as a child that resonated with me with this case. And so I was honestly, I was a bit apprehensive in the beginning because I wasn't sure how things were going to go. But working for these women was one of the most impactful things I've ever done in my entire life. And they were young and smart and strong and taught me so much. So it was, going into it, I could not have imagined what I would have gotten out of it, but they were tremendous humans,
That's
are
amazing.
tremendous humans.
Yeah, that's amazing that you both benefited from that relationship. And I often find, sometimes we ask and like, why in the heck am I here? Why did I land here? And then you find out, oh, it's another lesson that I had to go through or, and that mutually beneficial.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Do you have anything that really stands out? I mean, to me, when I think about that horrible man, and thank God he's in jail now, is that right?
He is in jail. Yeah.
So
Yes.
he's in jail. Just to see, did you have any insight into what kind of person would do something so detrimental to other people? Uh, when you
You
look,
know, I would love to just not spend time thinking about him, frankly. Unfortunately, I've known of a lot of men like this in my life, a lot of people that do things like this
Mhm.
between my time at the prosecutor's office and the time the work that we do here with the sexual assault victims and also myself personally, just what I've known in my life. And there are people that do these type of things, but there are so many more people that are wonderful, and I choose to focus on them and that.
That's remarkable. And I really admire you for being that way. And I agree, all of us in our life have suffered different things. And to be able to move beyond that emotionally, mentally, and then in your conversation is such a powerful thing. It's powerful in life. Do you attribute your success to the ability to move on, to keep looking forward, to keep inspirational? How have you been able to do that? Because obviously you have dealt with a lot of difficult things in your career. How do you stay positive? I'm curious.
It's really, really rewarding for me to work with our clients. That it's just always been something that I've cared deeply about. Getting to know the people that we work with, that we work for, understanding what they need in their life, what helps them. That's just what has always driven me. And when I moved further away from representing a lot of clients and more towards leadership in our firm, I look at the people at the office in the same way, right? It's great to work with such amazing colleagues and individuals, and I get the opportunity to know them on the same level. And the human connection is a really important thing for me, and it's something that's always been a driver of my success. And every time I focus on that and focus on the people that I serve, I always end up doing great things, and it's exciting.
I love that. Not everybody is capable of being a leader. There are a lot of people that prefer to stay doing their job, whether they're accountant or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever. And to be able to move into management, you just identified exactly what masters of leaders do. They serve the people. So how did you first realize that you really were about you're a leader, you became a leader? Did you see yourself go through a progression of learning those skills? Was it innate in you, or how did you become the leader that you are today?
It's a big question. I've learned from a lot of amazing people along the way. I also learned what I didn't want to see, right? Some of the learning is what you want to take on when you have mentors and people that you're learning from. And some you learn, oh man, I don't ever want to do that. And so I think it's a combination of those things. Mostly it's just when I had my own practice for a period of time after I did medical malpractice for about a year. And that's when I was doing some of the disability work. And when I was on my own, I think is when I realized this is not for me. I need to be in an organization with people working. It was just me and my secretary at the time. And I realized that I was really interested in working with people at that moment. I joined the firm that I'm at right now, the Sam Bernstein Law firm, as the director of the disability department that they were growing here at the firm at the time. And this is really when I started understanding how much of an impact you can have on colleagues and friends and clients and everyone when you can work together, develop processes, develop procedures that help people do better work for more clients. It really is just impacting greater amount of people through the work that we're able to do internally.
Wow. So you took the operations route, and throughout that time, so operations is oftentimes less about people, but it sounds like you've got both sides of the coin going. Besides operations, did you take an active role in coaching younger employees or anything like that?
Yeah, so interestingly, operations at our firm encompasses human resources as well. And so all along, I have kind of taken on the departments and human resources. So I've always had the roles of working individually with people. We have a great human resources director now that's here and has taken that role on, and she's amazing. But yes, we don't have actually we do have a mentor program for our attorneys in the office, and there's just so much more unstructured mentoring that happens here in every single level. The owners of this firm, Mark and Beth Bernstein, and I and all of our leadership team, I think our interactions with one another and with all of our colleagues every day is just that. We learn from each other, we grow together. It's a great team environment.
I love hearing that. That's so unusual in some companies, especially law
Yes.
firm. You assume in a law firm there's so many egos and there'd be combative kind of relationships, but it's great to hear that you guys are really in sync with each other and supportive. That's amazing. If you were coaching or advising a young lawyer in their career, male or female, what would you give them as a that launch off point, what's your best advice for a lawyer who's wanting to establish credibility in the marketplace and to have a successful career?
So there's two sides to it. As far as managing a practice, it's just get yourself an organizational system down, get that down pat. But as far as being a successful overall lawyer, it's really about just maintain your focus at all times on your client and advocating and advancing what is in their best interest. That's anytime you stray in a different direction, you move further away from the goal of what we're here doing. It's focus on your clients, give them the best support and legal representation that you can. And, always, if you have two choices to make and one of them is a gray area and one of them is the right choice, just do the right thing and you won't ever be wrong then. So
I love it. That's so great. Now, I know that you have a book coming up. I wanted to hear about your book and hear what it's about, the title, what it is, how'd you decide to do a book, and what you hope the book will do.
yes, thank you. So the book comes out January 5th. It's called Win-Win: Helping Organizations Mitigate Legal Risk for the Common Good. And this book came about a few years ago. I went back to school and I went to Harvard Business School to complete the advanced management program there, which was very exciting. And while I was there, an incident occurred that I required me to take action as far as filing a complaint, which I've never done in my life.
Hmm.
And so the process that I engaged in during that time really got me thinking about my clients and what they have to go through, and how for the first time in my life, I was seeing a situation from the other side. And while I've always advocated for people that are in this situation, I never really understood it, not in the same way. And so I had a project that I had to do as part of the completion of my program. And I decided to do a project based on the concept of organizations and institutions, if they would really rethink the way they handle complaints, they can save themselves terrible reputational damage, save themselves money, all while not re-traumatizing people that have to go through this process. And so if we shift our perspective a little bit and how we approach things, this can be accomplished. And that's what the book is about.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So there's actual trauma in them reporting an incident, I guess, just to have to relive it again. Um,
Yes.
what are your like what else? Is it by reliving it? Is it having to tell about it? Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So oftentimes when people go through a traumatic experience, think, I give many examples in my book, and I'll give a couple right now. Imagine a young man working on a job site in a construction company gets killed by a piece of equipment, and his widow comes forward and has to bring a claim. Just, obviously she's just lost her husband. She's young. She's got small children. She doesn't know how she's going to support them, and bringing a claim about somebody that, if this injury was the cause of somebody else, her having to come forward, file a lawsuit, and have to fight with an insurance company and an attorney to try to get, what she needs in that situation. So there's trauma that she's already experienced, and she's reliving it through the process again. And when met with people that are aggressive and deny what's happened and fight you every step of the way, it just exacerbates the injury, your anger, all of the things, and makes the situation worse when it really doesn't have to. People can support their own positions in a respectful and humble way that allows for a better outcome. And the book gives a lot of examples and structure around how an organization can set that up so that they avoid that really heavily antagonistic process.
Wow, I think that sounds really amazing because most times, or it sounds like a company is going to want to defend themselves. Sorry, we didn't do that. When in reality they did. So it sounds like you're giving answers or you're giving alternative suggestions to them of how to perform and how to behave when there is a thing to be able to negotiate to. So it's a win-win. It sounds like that's
It
like
is,
your
it
book.
is a win-win, yes. It focuses on key principles like transparency, accountability, responsibility, respectfulness, just all of the things. It doesn't mean you have to say, oh yeah, we did this, we did everything wrong. It's not about that. It's really just about having a different mindset when you enter in these conversations and when you enter into these processes and setting things up in a way that allows for people to be treated humanely as going through this process.
It sounds like you're teaching people to be good humans.
I'm trying. And they are good humans already, I know. But sometimes I think systems have been set up for so long to just behave in a system in a certain way. And it's to me, it seemed pretty clear that if just shaken up a little bit and changed around a little bit, it can make a huge impact.
Wow. Well, Rebecca, to me, you are somebody who is reestablishing a credible type of personality that most lawyers aren't identified as. You are bringing compassion and goodwill to all people and the disabled, the people who've been sexually assaulted, people who've had bad things happen to them from other organizations. And I think you're a breath of fresh air.
Thank
Um,
you.
it's just
Very, very
amazing.
kind of you. Thank you.
So no, I really appreciate you and so much. Thank you so much. I cannot wait. Again, tell me the name of your book and when the projected date of your book will be.
Yeah. Yes, the book is called Win-Win, Helping Organizations Mitigate Legal Risk for the Common Good, and it is coming out January 5th, 2025.
Awesome. And how can people be in touch with you or your law firm?
So my law firm is the Sam Bernstein Law Firm. Our website's callsam.com, and our phone number is 1-800-CALL-SAM. I have my own website now as well for the book. It's RebeccaSposita.com.
I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. That's so fun. Rebecca, thank you for spending some time with me today. You are a blessing to so many people, and I hope all of you will keep in mind January 5th, the book Win Win by Rebecca Sposita. And thank you again for joining us of Masters of Leadership. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day, and don't forget, stay inspiring.